Hey there everyone, Witch Hazel again, thanks for joining me. So the topic of this video is going to be shadow work. I know this is something that is very popular this time of year and has been very popular recently, at least as far as I can tell. Maybe it's just because I've been looking into it more, I found more information about it, but it seems like it's becoming very popular. And I will say that I will not go in great depth because my vision of shadow work is not hugely separate from daily life, and I'll explain that in a moment. But I want to put a little plug in right now for Kellyanne Maddox. Many of you probably have heard of her. She is another great witch on YouTube, and she does a phenomenal job of explaining shadow work as she understands it and as she practices it. And I think if you want in-depth information on shadow work, definitely go check out her channel. I will put a link below for that because she's got some amazing information. Now, as for me, what I think of when I think of shadow work is basically working on acknowledging and working with the darker aspects of myself, meaning my character traits that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with, or else I'm not really happy with. And these are all things that none of us are totally happy with ourselves. I think. And this is because none of us are perfect. We can't be perfect. And so we're going to have some flaws that can make or break us. It depends on how we look at it. And what I mean by that is, if you have, or I'll use me as an example, if I have traits that are not beneficial to me, not beneficial to the people around me, they can cause damage and harm in my life. And these traits could be anything from a short temper, snapping at people. That comes to mind because I do that. Snapping at people, maybe being mean-hearted to people on occasion, or being insensitive, being, I don't know, just anything you would consider harmful or hurtful. If you do that, basically we have two options on what we can do with these darker aspects of ourselves. I'm not going to say try to get rid of them because, again, nobody's perfect. We have to have light and dark in order to be a balanced person. That's just the way it is. So this does not mean that I'm going to ignore the fact that I have a short temper and that I snap at people. If I ignore it, then it becomes detrimental. Then it just keeps on, maybe it grows, it starts to control you. It starts to kind of take over, and you don't know what to do about it after a while. You just play it off as, well, that's just how I am and I just have to deal with it. Not so much. With anything in our lives, we can actively choose to make change. I can actively choose to look at my behavior, to look at my thoughts and my inner self, and decide what I want to do with that. The example I always use is this snappiness, because I, for a long time, did not recognize it. I didn't realize it, and after a while, my family started recognizing it, and would mention every now and again that I was short-tempered, and I didn't like that. It bothered me that I had some negative aspect that was showing enough that my family felt they had to make mention of it. So I could either just brush it off and say, well, so what, that I am what I am, or I could start to look at when I feel angry, snappy, etc., and think about why that is, try to redirect my emotion, and that I will say I have not been successful at yet. When I'm angry, and I don't know how to deflect it. Although I have tried. I am still working on that, but it is not something that I've done successfully yet. What I have been able to do is, especially if it's a small thing, like a couple of times I've been in a store and I'll snap at someone working there and not even realize it. I just am short with them and go on my way, and for example, my sister will point out, you know, you were kind of mean. And no, I didn't know. I didn't realize it. So I can look at my behavior and then decide, was it warranted or was it not? From that, say, okay, what do I want to do about it? Do I want to say, okay, noted, and move on? Which I think does help, even if you don't actively make a change in that, in the respect of going back and trying to change what you did. You note it to yourself. You make a note on your brain, on your heart, whatever, that I didn't like doing that. I'm going to try not to do that again. So, but it has to be acknowledged. Just that acknowledgement is a form of action that you take. The other thing you can do, the other thing that I try to do, is if I say, okay, yeah, that person didn't deserve that, I didn't have to be that way, I'm going to go and apologize. And that is amazingly difficult for many of us to do. It's amazingly difficult for me to do. I don't like apologizing. But I realize sometimes that, yeah, I was wrong and I need to go and do that because that person did not deserve to get snapped at. So this whole process is what I consider shadow work. Taking a look at myself, realizing the things that I don't necessarily like about myself, and deciding what I want to do about that. And also deciding that that can be okay. I don't have to be perfect. But the main part is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement and action. Without those things, shadow work cannot be productive. You're just continuing to tap down these parts of yourself that you don't want to show. And if you don't want them to show, that's fine. But you can't try to squish them into a little container because eventually it's gonna pop. It's gonna bust open, and then you're gonna be so much worse off than you were before. So I hope this rant has made some sort of sense, because as said, if you want a good, detailed, highly articulate explanation of shadow work, check out Kellyanne. My ideas are similar, but up to this point I haven't actively set aside separate time to work on shadow work. So that is the difference that I'm trying to start now in this season, is setting apart specific time to work on this, to kind of delve into myself and talk to myself about what I like, what I don't like, what I want to change, ask some questions, get some answers type of a deal. That is the thing that I have not done previously. What I have done for years is try to take note of my actions and behaviors and see how I want to change them. So I consider myself kind of halfway there, because I finally have figured out that I do want to spend more dedicated time on this. And it is an ongoing process throughout life. So I think I'm running out of time, if my camera hasn't shut off already. So I'm going to end it there and just say, if any of you do shadow work, journeying, I would love to hear your take on it and how you decide what is shadow work, what is not shadow work, and what you do to better yourself or to work with your shadow. Alright, thanks very much for watching, and talk to you soon. Bye.